Hey, Jill. You know them old sugar daddy. They be tricking, they tell them girls.
I said you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night, baby. You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, late night sex so wet and so tight. I gas up the jet for you tonight, and baby you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah. Anytime you want to, pick up the telephone. You know it ain't nothing to drop a couple stacks on you. Want it, you can get it, my dear. $5 million home drop business, I swear. Yeah, I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke nigga be quiet. Stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night, baby. You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, late night sex so wet and so tight. I gas up the jet for you tonight, and baby you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah. Shout to you the hottest, love the way you drop it. Brain so good, good I swore you went to college. 100K deposits, vacations in the tropics. Everybody know it ain't tricking if you got it. And you ain't never ever gotta go in your wallet. Long as I got rubber band banks in my pocket. 5'6", rides with rims and a body kick. You ain't gotta downgrade, you can get what I get. My chick can have what she want, and go in and stomp her any bag she want. I know you ain't never had a man like that to buy you anything your heart desire like that. Yeah, I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke nigga be quiet. Stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night, baby. You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, late night sex so wet and so tight. I gas up the jet for you tonight, and baby you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah, I'm talking big boy rides and big boy ice. Let me put this big boy in your life. The thing gets so wet and hits so right. Let me put this big boy in your life. That's right. I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke nigga be quiet. Stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night, baby. You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, late night sex so wet and so tight. I gas up the jet for you tonight, and baby you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah.
Hey, Jill.
I've worked at some of the largest retailers.
Show your daughter how much you love
I might be too strung out on compliments, overdosed on confidence. Started not to give a f and stop fearing the consequence. Drinking every night because we drink to my accomplishments. Faded way too long, I'm floating in and out of consciousness. And they saying I'm back, I'd agree with that. I just take my time with all this shit, I still believe in that. I had someone tell me I fell off, ooh, I needed that. And they wanna see me pick back up, well, where'd I leave it at? I know I exaggerated things, now I got it like that. Tuck my napkin in my shirt cause I'm just mobbing like that. You know good and well that you don't want a problem like that. You gon' make someone around me catch a body like that. No, don't do it.
please don't do it. Cause one of us goes in and we all go through it. And Drizzy got the money, so Drizzy gon' pay it. Those my brothers, I ain't.
Hey, let me kick it to you right quick, man. Not on some gangster shit, man, on some real shit. Anybody done been through the same thing, I'm sure you feel the same way. Big Phil, it's for you, pimpin'.
I've been traveling on this road too long. Just trying to find my way back home. The old me is dead and gone, dead and gone.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Football Friday. It is divisional playoff time for the NFL. We're down to the nitty-gritty. The coaching carousel in the NFL is absolutely wild right now. Whew. Teams positioning for the future, obviously already planning for the draft coming up. We got a lot of good games this weekend. We got special guests coming in today. Our longtime faithful of the show, Marcus Buffington, coming in to give us his opinions, I apologize, on the Dallas Cowboys and the news coming out of that. Before we get to that, though, let me introduce you to my good friend, Jeffrey Schneider over there. Jeffrey, how are we doing today?
So I feel like I'm doing okay. I feel great. But once again, it seems like we're having some internet connect or microphone issues or just overall issues in general. And this is kind of our state right now.
It definitely
state of Florida or the state of this podcast right now.
I didn't know what's going on in the state of Florida. I
don't know.
It's cold.
It's cold. Our governor's out there trying to be president. We could really use him here, helping out with some property taxes and insurance things and different things like that. That'd be cool.
Actually, you know what? I'm proud to say that I was able to switch my insurance without having to fix my roof. I hope that so-and-so's not listening. But, yeah, so as we all know, in Florida, the interest rate, the interest rates are everything. The property taxes and insurance have been absolutely egregious, and they're literally just telling people we're not insuring in Florida anymore. So I got my notice like 3 weeks before the end of the year, shopped a few policies, and then I was ready to pull the trigger on one, and the lovely State Farm agent was like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to need to have a home inspection first. Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that before I committed to this. Thank you so much. So I scrambled to get that, and of course I have a few broken tiles. So we can't insure the home with the few broken tiles. I live in an HOA. I live in a townhome where the HOA is actually responsible for fixing it. So it's quite the debacle. It's not going to fit into the time frame, so I had to pay my other policy in full, which was more than double the new policy. But thanks to USAA, and I can't remember what the name of the company, Safety First or something like that. My new policy went into effect today. The old one is canceled. It actually worked out great because Progressive, they're not going to refund my card. They're going to send me a check. So I got those points on my card, the whole shebang, and then I get to pay it off. Beautiful. And then I get the new points on the other one. It actually worked out very, very well. I called my mother yesterday. I was like, you know what? It's time to chalk one up for the win in the Thomas household. It's been a while since we've had a big W over here. And you know what? This is life, kids. This is what you have to look forward to. It's really crazy. One day you're going to wake up, you're going to be like, man, I just feel like I need to clean my garage. And that is going to be the height of your day. And, saving a couple grand on insurance is a big win. Big win when you get older. I hope you kids are ready for this. Can't hear anything you're saying, unfortunately. Why is this not working? I can see that. See now it's there. Do you maybe do we have to? No, because the green light came on like you were talking and nothing came through. Yeah. There's literally nothing coming through here, guys. I don't. Discord. I need you to get your shit together. Maybe try restarting Discord one more time.
Let's see how that we can do. If you want to go ahead and bring Buff in while I do that, go ahead and.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and bring in. We do have today. There he is, Marcus Buffington with us today. Marcus Buffing is our residently Dallas fan. Buff, are you turning on the camera today, or are we going without the camera? How do you feel today? Do you feel sexy?
I'm camera on, bro. We're good. It don't matter to me.
Well, it's just up to you. I'm just gonna need to change this thing over here. We'll leave it up as the orange square at the moment. We were talking about the coaching carousels, right? That we have going on. A lot of things going on. A lot of analysts has called this the richest coaching free agency in the history of the NFL. You got Bill Belichick out there. You got Mike Vrabel out there. You got Jim Harbaugh coming into the mix as well. A lot of good OCs out there that are floating around. A lot of good head coaching jobs out there. And the Dallas Cowboys announced yesterday
Run it back.
They are going to run it back with Mike McCarthy. Now, before I get into your reaction, I have to say, when I first looked this up, I was absolutely blown away. To have Jerry Jones, probably one of the most eccentric owners, and let's not forget, folks, he is the general manager as well. He controls all of the shots. He makes all of the personnel decisions. He said, I'm sticking with Mike McCarthy. Now, I'm on the side of everybody else. I think that is just a bonehead move. We've seen Mike McCarthy's clock management. We've seen some of the questionable things that he's made. And I think the biggest thing is what happened against the Green Bay Packers. That was absolutely egregious. I felt like the coaching staff did not have that team ready. They looked flat. They looked like they didn't want to play for them. And yet we're retaining our coach. So let's get into it here. How are we feeling from the Dallas Cowboys perspective?
Well, of course, whenever you see a shellacking on national TV and it's 26-0 in the first half, Cowboys Nation instantly thought that we were definitely getting rid of McCarthy. And we were like, okay, maybe you're going to sit there and look at Dan Quinn moving out as well. We were pretty much looking at a new head coach, a new defensive coach. And then it turns out that, Dan Quinn is interviewing. That's probably going to happen. We say we're going to keep McCarthy. And with the richest coaching carousel out there, they want to say it's more of a continuity thing. Dak is coming up on I think it's interesting because I think McCarthy's decision is tied to Dak, and Dak and McCarthy are going to make this bet together. I think that Dak is about to be the highest, if not one of the highest paid quarterbacks. He's probably going to get $60 million with all these other guys that are getting like $50 million a year.
Are you good with that? Are you good with paying Dak Prescott $60 million?
At this point in day, man, it's not about am I good with it. It's about the team understanding that you can't move on from Dak right now, and Dak and McCarthy are kind of hand in hand. We can't trade Dak. He's got a no trade clause. He'd have to waive it, and the cap hit. We're already like $20 million in overage right now, and even with the new reset at like 245 or whatever, like we're still gonna have to work a lot of magic. Our free agent list is long. And I don't think that you can go into a season like this with a lot of our personnel question marks with a new quarterback or with a new head coach. So we're looking at a list including like Gilmore. Everybody knows that our defense laying 40 in the playoffs is unacceptable. And Dan Quinn is obviously probably on his way out. So we're looking at a new defensive regime, and you're looking at getting Diggs back. We're going to have to build through the draft. We're looking at this kid out of Ohio State, Burke or whatever. Looks like a second-round pick that we might get. And then, you're happy with what you got out of Deron Bland and some of the other guys. But
hold on one second. I have to stop you here. And, Jeff, I know you just got back in here, and I do definitely want you to hear this. Okay, you just talked about paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year. And you said it doesn't matter if you're okay with it. Now,
no, it has nothing to do with me.
Of course exactly. I'm not saying that you can change the outcourse of history, but you can most certainly not be acceptance of it. You just talked about him being the highest paid quarterback in the league.
Man, Dak, all right.
Do you think? Hold on. I'm going to give you the question. We've seen Dak, right? And I will say, arguably, this is probably one of his better seasons. To go to that game, and we are going to talk about Dan Quinn here for a second as well, because that dude needs to be roasted. But he's had one semi-good year that we can recall. Going into this year, it was, the last contract extension that we talked about, it was whether or not he deserved it then. But I will say that you to sticking with them, yes. But to command the most money in the league, and how is that going to handicap your team? Because as what you said, you have a say in it. You're not going to be able to stop it, of course. But when you pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year, what's left for CeeDee Lamb? What's left for Micah Parsons? And as you said, you're already there. You already have to sign all of these other players. Of course, you don't want to move on, but isn't paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year going to hurt you even more?
Yeah, you just hope all the quarterback contracts are 5 years right now, right? So you're hoping it's going to be incentive based, and there's going to be, an amount of guaranteed money that's obviously going to be in there. You just understand with the way that the position is moving and the way that everybody is getting more money, it's inevitable. There is no choice other than if you have a good quarterback, and Dak is good. He's not great. He's good.
He's mediocre.
Win a Super Bowl.
He's medium, right?
Right. I think that we have pieces in place, as McCarthy said. I'm not saying that he's shown us that he's been clutch yet. Everybody, yourself included, Jeff included, everybody said this year felt different, right? There were some checkpoints that were being marked off along the way. Now, that does not include beating a good team. That does not include beating a good team on the road per se. And that does not include winning a close game in a big pressure moment, right? Those are things that we're still waiting to see. But whenever you're coming to this point, when the rubbers meet in the road, contracts got to get signed. I don't want to go get some chump quarterback and start off with a rookie again. Dak is still good. He's drawing a lot of comparisons to Tony Romo right now. My buddy John Larger was comparing him more to Joe Burrow, where he's going to get in there, or not Joe Burrow, Andy Dalton, the guy that came before him. And with Andy Dalton just being a quarterback that can win games, that can't really get out of the first round, that just seems to be stuck in this muck of can't get out of his own head, man. And I think whenever you're looking at a quarterback who's running the Dallas Cowboys, you're obviously in a spotlight that is going to be much bigger and much brighter. And we're still waiting on that incremental growth. You can't really call it incremental. We're waiting on that leap, man. We're waiting on that jump. Cowboys Nation is waiting so patiently. It's been 30 years next year since we've won a Super Bowl, man. 30 years. It's the longest drought that the Cowboys have ever been in. Right? Whenever you're talking about the Super Bowl era, won some in the 70s, got some in the 90s, and that took Jimmy Johnson, a Hall of Fame coach, and that was the whole thing with that team with Jimmy Johnson was getting us over the hump against who? San Francisco, right? And like another team loaded with Hall of Famers with a Hall of Fame coach. And right now, every time we go up against the Niners, it's embarrassing. And they're not even as good as they were back then. I know that we're a shell of ourselves when it comes to a franchise. I feel that our coaching I feel that we're having to stick with our team because there isn't another option with the way that we made our bed before this year. Belichick, I'm not so upset about losing Belichick, okay?
Belichick
Brady,
would never work with
Brady,
him.
obviously, you see that divorce. I think Harbaugh doesn't want to come to Dallas. I think he's very interested in the LA gig, and having Herbert, I think, is very attractive, and that defense is great. And who wouldn't want to live in California? And when you're talking about Tomlin, go ahead. What? Who?
No, he's saying
No, I don't want to live in California.
Oh, sure. No, yeah, that would be great. I was like, you with the hand up right there. I think when you're looking at Mike Tomlin, I don't know if I want mediocre Mike in Dallas. We already have a mediocre Mike. The guy is like, and I'm not saying that Tomlin wouldn't be able to come in and get it done, but Tomlin, again, I feel, and I'm sure you're not Steelers fans, you could say it, like that guy had to have a pretty incredible team to get to where he went. That team still barely won. You're talking about a James Harrison 99-yard immaculate return, a Antonio Holmes toe-tap touchdown. Like that last Super Bowl that Tomlin got against Arizona was a great Super Bowl. I feel like the curse of the Maroons kind of hit there, but I don't want Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? I'm not begging for him. I'm not saying that McCarthy is any better than the coaches that we just named, but I thought it was a real kick in the nuts that McCarthy just couldn't beat the Packers. I thought that it was given to us with an opportunity on the table for him to go against his former team, for Dak to actually do something against a team that knocked him out, that knocked us out with Rick Rodgers and with Aaron Rodgers in a 4th and 20. Like, bro, we can't beat the Packers and we can't beat the Niners, and it's the most frustrating thing. We can beat every other team, it seems. On the road, we can get up for a game. We can check off a little point if it's against the Eagles at home and they're just happen to be reeling after a 10-1 start. People give us the Lions game and they're like, oh, well, you really shouldn't have won that because of a sequence of events with calls, but yet there was a whole tripping call that wasn't called that could have gone the other way. So that game, I call it a wash. I think we're competitive with the Lions. I think with our draw, the Green Bay Packers was the best draw that we could have got. I think it was ours for the taking, and I think it was you thought when we were taking a step forward, we take 2 steps back.
Well,
and
I
now
think
you have to relook at all of our contracts, and it's going to be ugly, and we're going to lose people, and it's going to have to be a squad of guys that are going to be patched together. We're going to have to build through the draft. There's going to be key pieces to our defense and offense that we will be losing, and I don't know why we chose, like I heard Jeff say, why do we stick with Tony Pollard when we see Ezekiel Elliott looking like the Zeke of old in Ohio State, looking slim and trim? Like, I feel if we had Zeke this year instead of Pollard, we probably would have had a fucking ground game. But here we are with Tony Pollard averaging, 3 a clip, and had one game, I think, that he broke 100 yards and didn't do much for any of the last 12
not a
games
lot
of
of
the
touchdowns
season.
either. Not a lot.
Not a
Well,
lot of
I'd have to
touchdowns,
say,
not a
though,
lot of PPR.
you mentioned earlier about Dak Prescott being compared to Andy Dalton and Tony Romo. And I'm telling you right now, a $60 million quarterback should not be mentioned with either one of those two.
Yeah,
That's
but
the going
it's
rate, though, Tyson. Like, what are
Romo,
they supposed to do?
right.
Is what he's saying. Like,
I
who are
understand.
you moving on to?
If Romo was
Patrick
playing-
Mahomes isn't making $60 million.
Yeah, but Mahomes signed his contract.
No, he
for
just
2 years ago?
renegotiated it this year. We're going into this year. They got him more money.
Yeah, but when Patrick Mahomes signed, it was ridiculous. 500 million, right? 10 years, something
50,
like that.
yeah.
And obviously, they said it was going to be restructured. I feel that Dak Prescott's contract can very well be a little cushy in some years, and then can be re-incentivized and be, worked with. We're going to have to do that. We did this last year. when
All
it
I'm
came
saying
to
is
our-
this was the year. This was the year, Cowboys fans.
Yeah, but last year was
this-
supposed to be the year too.
No,
Last year
but
was supposed to be the year, too.
this year you showed life. This year you showed that you could
Right,
be a
sure.
vicious team at home.
Right, it
To
looked
where
different.
anyone
It looked
comes
different.
into our house, we are going to pile it up on you. We are going to run it up, and we are going to have no mercy. You struggled on the road. You struggled against teams over 500, but when you were at home, something clicked. And I think that when the Green Bay Packers come in and did what they did, and then just to simply say, run it back.
It's all about matchups, Tyson. And we had been getting gashed on the run. Aaron Jones had been on fire. He came right in and punched us right in our mouth. For whatever reason, we could not seem to clog the holes. We only were rushing 4, and we didn't want them to beat us over the top. So we let them just literally slow bleed us and just keep taking 5 to 10 yards, 5 to 10 yards, 5 to 10 yards. We wouldn't load the box. We didn't make them throw it over the top. And whenever we did try some stunt exotic package, there just wasn't any coverage out of this cover 2. And it was supposed to be like a cover 2 shell that was supposed to have guys manning up, and anybody in the middle of the field was wide open.
Oh, it was a shell, all right, and that's why we said we had 272 yards put up by Jordan Love. But to what your point earlier, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, it was 16, yeah. Dan Quinn.
16 passes.
This is what
through 41 completions out of 60 attempts.
This is what I'm talking about when we talk about Dan Quinn, and this is what completely amazes me. To your point, the schemes that Dan Quinn drew up for this Green Bay offense was shit, and yet the guy is still looking, head coaching jobs.
Yeah, but as the league progresses and people are looking at look at LaFleur versus McCarthy. Okay, I would rather have LaFleur than McCarthy. Whenever you look at it, I think he's a much sexier head coach. I think he's got way better schemes. I think that whenever he
not
actually gets
overweight,
the offense out there, what's that?
He's not overweight, and honestly,
Well, sure, right.
tend to give more favor to people who are attractive, and less to people who are not. It's just the way that the human nature is. The way that it's why you want pretty servers, right? Like
Well,
because
let's
people
be
get
real.
more leeway. It's the way it goes.
McCarthy had Aaron Rodgers for how many years, and he came out with one title, and that was in 2012. That was 12 years ago,
100%.
and that was like one of the greatest quarterbacks in all time, man. And I know Dak's not Aaron Rodgers, but McCarthy just doesn't seem. McCarthy's a good coach. Dan Quinn's a good coach, but these are guys that I feel that are being aged out of the league, and I
Do you
feel
think
that.
So and you talk about that, right? But obviously Dan Quinn is getting looks for head coaching gigs other places. And when Mike McCarthy was asked the question, will Dan Quinn be back as defensive coordinator if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he just said that Dan is a valued member of the Cowboys organization and they will reevaluate after the interview process is done. Which to
Right,
me
because we're
isn't a
super
very big
butthurt
vote
that we just
of
laid 40
confidence.
at home in 2 years. Like,
Okay, well then, what do we need to shore up then, Buff? And here's my. Oh, I didn't hear because. But to me, and also your linebackers. Whether since it was the Jalen Smith debacle and Clayton Vander Esch being constantly hurt, and Sean being constantly hurt. You guys have never had guys that have been there years. Your defensive line has always been good. Your back end has always been okay, but it's that middle that's always just been getting chewed up, in my opinion. And so, can you build that through the draft? Is there any cap space? Is there any wiggle room that Dak might be able to take less money this year to be able to shore some
100%.
of these things up?
And I wish, that everyone would just do the whole Tom Brady blueprint, because us all being able to see a quarterback give up his personal glory and, I know Giselle had all the money or whatever, but to give up millions of dollars because you care about winning championships is the quarterback that all of us want on our team. And so you could
But
hope
you'll never
he
see
would-
again.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't think that it's all about that. I think there's always people that come around that are just different, that break the mold. And I think it's an opportunity for Dak to kind of, how much does he want to win with this, current team that we have? And I know that they're talking about a friendly renegotiate or reconstructible contract, something that they can rework the numbers and whatnot, and that's fine. But I agree with you, Jeff. Like, we're gonna have to go through the draft. Looking at our top 5 draft potential picks, it's definitely like a CB, a defensive end. I don't see any linebackers. You know what I mean? So we're not even looking. And that could all change. Like, we know all that is up in the
Jeremiah
air.
Trotter Jr. is out there coming out of Clemson.
Right.
I know he's a pretty good one. But
Right,
one
he'd
thing
be
I will
great.
say too is that I think the best 1-2 punch, we've obviously seen that Pollard cannot carry the load. There is going to be a free agent who's coming out of Tennessee Titans who I know would look really good in the uniform of the Dallas Cowboys, and that is one Derrick King Henry. And if there's a way that you guys could somehow
That'd be a good move.
what, I need to. I'm just going to start this rumor here just because I thought it'd be a good idea. But if there's a way that Dak did something to get Derrick Henry brought in, him and Pollard now give you a good 1-2 punch where you can control the clock and kind of play against having your defense on the field too much, and having Dak throw the ball 60 times a game is obviously not what we want to do.
But and that pisses me off too, man, because McCarthy said he didn't want to light up the scoreboard like Kellen Moore.
You literally turned to me as the game started and said, "This sucks because as a Cowboys fan, the one thing we didn't want is for Dak to throw the ball 40 times," and they ended up throwing the ball 60. So
and they threw a 60, and everything
in the first quarter,
that
you saw the writing on the wall, and it kind of was what it was from there. It felt like
Right.
quicksand, right? Especially in
It
that
did.
first half. We talk about replacements all the time. Shane Falco, what's the biggest fear you have when it comes to playing the game of football? It's quicksand, that everything you do just continuously makes it worse and worse and worse. And that was kind of
and just like typical Dak Prescott fashion, he comes in the fourth quarter, lights it up for 200 yards, throws a couple touchdowns, puts the game within 16, and you're like, okay, it's against a secondary defense. Everyone was already checked out. Like, the whole point
Prevent defense.
that I'm trying to make is the defense was obviously shell-shocked, but we didn't do anything on offense to try to put us back in that game early on, man. And between the off throw to CeeDee Lamb on that first third down, whenever it was off his fingertips, and then you go 3 and out and you come back in and you still don't have any effing creativity when you're drawing up the X's and O's. You're not making it a point to get Pollard going and to get Rico going. We didn't even run the ball 3 straight times. We never even went for it on 4th. Like, we didn't have that fire. Looked like we were trying to weather a storm and that we were just going to get back in there. And then all of a sudden Dak makes a bad read on it wasn't even a 0 blitz. The safety just steps in front of the ball. He takes it to the house, and everybody knew that the game was over. First round exit. You could put us in there next year. Like, the definition of insanity is to literally to do the same thing and expect different results. Amen. And we're just saying we're running it back. Last year, you asked me if I wanted to get rid of McCarthy, and I said yes. I want to get rid of McCarthy because I don't believe that he's going to be able to get us over the hump. And the whole relationship between him and Dak, and him relying on Dak to throw more, and all of a sudden Dak's throwing 35 touchdowns and leading the league in touchdowns this year. Like, I thought we were going to run the ball. I thought we were going to run the ball. I thought we were going to focus on the ground game. So he says one thing and then puts another out on tape. Dan Quinn is going to go get a head coaching job, but I don't think anybody's in love with Dan Quinn right now because of what just happened. So, like, there's some real questions that are going to be asked in interviews. Everybody knows if you got Dan Quinn in front of you, you're going to be like, so what happened in that Packers game, huh? Like, and what are you going to do? Blame it on our personnel? Like, buddy, that play when Musgrove walked into the end zone,
yeah,
it was the craziest next-gen stat I had ever seen for the year. He was the most wide open any receiver was in the entire NFL all year long. And it happened at home on national TV against the Packers in the playoffs.
It was perfectly drawn up. Like, if you watched it, you watched Aaron Jones in a scrimmage and all the linemen setting up for the screen pass. And then Musgrove just comes from the opposite side.
Both the safeties went to the same side.
It just, like,
it was definitely, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, like, you know, nobody's wrong. Like, how can you expect us to do anything and not get knocked out of the first round next year, man? Like, we're literally,
you know, it really is. And Buff, I apologize for making you relive it. Even though you did have the largest Negroni I've ever seen in my life. We do appreciate what happened.
I don't know if Buff could hear. I couldn't hear anything you just said.
No, yeah, he was cutting out right there. I missed him a little bit. I heard I had the largest Negroni in my life, and that was not enough.
Hopefully that was enough for you to make it through. We do have to get.
He's cutting out again, right?
Yeah, he is.
All right. Tyson, go ahead.
Well, I'm pretty sure what he's trying to say is that we really appreciate you coming in and reliving the being dragged through the mud and being questioned about all your team's decisions, because obviously it is the Dallas Cowboys. They are going to garner the most attention out there, and of course the most scrutiny.
Everybody can kiss the 5 rings, man. Revenue sharing. The reason why the Bucs are where they are, the reason why all these teams are where they are, is because Jerry Jones, the eccentric bastard, figured out a way to make more money for the league. It's a rich get richer league, and the Cowboys seem to hold a very large portion of that. It's always good to be on the show, man. Thanks for having me, guys. You know, I'll be listening. Invite me anytime you want to talk shit about the Cowboys. And yeah, go Bucs.
Hey, we'll get you in some. We'll bring you in on some positive times too. Okay. I mean, this is
yeah, man. It's all good, dude. It's nobody wants to talk about when the Cowboys are doing good, man. Everybody would rather talk about
we did. I do believe I actually even started the show with "We Did Boys." I gave you flowers. I gave you flowers.
And I appreciate that, man. It's definitely an awkward time to be a Cowboys fan because we're at that 30-year throreshold, bro. Like, I was a kid.
Don't talk to me until you're at least over 40, bro. Come on, now. I mean, 1985. 1985.
Yeah, but you always have Sexy Rexy, man. Don't forget about him.
Sexy Rexy.
Don't forget about Sexy Rexy getting you there. He's one of the only quarterbacks, I think TJ said, that could ever be right next to you at the bar having a beer and you wouldn't even know he was an NFL quarterback.
I'm sure there's a lot. Well, thank you very much, Buff. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing the Cowboys back in action next year. And, of course, we're rooting them on. You have a blessed day, and thank you so much for joining the show.
Appreciate you guys. Later, man.
Have a good day. Hey, we're going to test out Jeffrey's microphone here again. Jeffrey, check 1 2, check 1 2.
What's up?
Hey, there he is. So Mike McCarthy staying in Dallas. I'll tell you, I think we talked about, to bring up, kind of what Buff was talking about Dak, and I understand what you're saying as well. But we talked about how important it is just to have a mediocre quarterback in this league and how hard it is, right, to have a good quarterback. I just think that it's absolutely crazy to think that Dak Prescott is going to get a max quarterback contract of $60 million and what that does. And we've talked about it numerous times. I can't get over Tom Brady doing what he did. And even my mother, who absolutely hates Tom Brady, and you could think of that just from New England fans, has respect for him for what he did and taking the less money. But I don't think that we're ever going to see that again. But that was definitely a shocker for me to see that Mike McCarthy, and honestly, to what Buzz's point is and what you said, is Dan Quinn really going to get? How do you reward somebody with that performance from your defense, who is arguably, we talked about the best, one of the best defenses in the league? I mean, they had the highest scoring defense. That was the best defense in the league, right? And now all of a sudden you get blown out. To Buzz's point, I would love to see that conversation in an interview. So what happened in the Packers game? I don't know. Belichick, Billy Belichick, we talked about him, the old Sith Lord himself, apparently is now going to have a second interview in Atlanta for the Falcons job. As we said a little bit before with Buff, I couldn't see him going to work for Jerry Jones. It's just I don't think that would have ever been on the table. I think Atlanta's probably the best point. You got to think it's probably one of the most shamble franchises, which actually has good personnel. But as Buff said as well, since Brady left, what have we seen from Bill Belichick? Not a whole lot. So what would be the expectations of Bill Belichick in Atlanta? I mean, obviously this is going to be the Bucs division. You're going to see him twice a year. I mean, what would be the expectations you have for that?
This is just an issue of Bill Belichick found someone to give him the reins to their franchise. Nobody would. Will, and that's just what it is. They'll probably play great defense. They think that they want to trade a first-round pick for Justin Fields. That is some crazy Bill Belichick shit. But, good luck to him. I nothing to say about it. I mean, it looks like it's a done deal. Second interview is happening this weekend. He'll leave there with a contract. He'll leave there with, full reign of everything. He'll bring in his coordinators and his guys. And, they'll be the New England in a dome. I
don't think that he's going to get full control over personnel this time. I think he's lost that right to say that.
I don't think he would go anywhere. Like, I think the problem with going to the place like the Eagles is that Howie Roseman has so much control over the roster, where Belichick wants to be able to have those decisions. Bill Parcells was the same way.
I think that it's very simple in that interview room. Is you bring up his picks, you bring up who he surrounded himself in New England, and you said these were your picks. Why didn't you win?
And he goes like this with all of his rings on his hand.
And I would, I think with that mentality, you don't get another coaching job, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I would look back at you and say, and Tom Brady went and won a ring without you. You have been one of the worst coaching records since Tom Brady left you. So
that is also one place that I could definitely see Baker Mayfield landing. Would be Atlanta, and Atlanta will pay him. Bill Belichick, from what I understand, what I've heard, loves Baker. Where I think the Bucs will be hesitant to want to re-sign some other pieces. I think what we've seen this year is that roster construction matters a lot, and back obviously.
I didn't catch the very end of that, but I'm pretty sure I understand what you said with our overrated quarterback. I agree what you say with Baker as well. I think that, there was a report, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, right, there was mutual interest in Baker and re-signing in Tampa. I think if they would have got it done right then and there. But now I think Baker's going to command too much money for what the Bucs are playing. Because if you remember, also you might lose Dave Canales as well. Mm-hmm. And Baker obviously thrived in his offense. You don't know how Baker is going to perform in another offense. I think it's going to be a very, very, yes, it is. I think it's actually Discord, Buff. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. The connection's great. I mean, he looks crisp, clear. He looks beautiful today. All of the images are coming through shiningly. We just need to move platforms off of this. I think this is what's going to happen.
It's weird because it's like when I talk, the green box is popping up where my mic is, and it's coming through. But then for some reason it's cutting out on the back end.
Yeah, there might be also something in the system settings about what's defaulting, and you have multiple microphones, so maybe something. But we'll try to figure that out. Regardless, we're going to be moving up to some upgraded equipment and upgraded layouts here very, very soon as I can get off my ass and do some shit. The Bears narrowing down their offensive coordinator. So these are the ones that we've had so far. We had Greg Roman, the former offensive coordinator, who was ran out after Lamar Jackson. Doesn't make any sense. We have Shane Waldron, the Seattle offensive coordinator. That kind of makes sense. We have Clint Kubiak, the 49ers passing game coordinator. I think anytime you get anybody off the San Francisco 49ers, I think you just do it at this point.
I'm assuming that's Gary's son, Gary Kubiak, who is
I think so, yeah.
Great coaches in the NFL.
You have Grego. I don't know if it's Grego or Greg. I think it's Greg. Sorry, I think I just got a little fat. Greg Olson, the Seattle quarterback coach.
Greg Olson. That'd be a hard no for me.
And then you got Liam Cohen, the Kentucky offensive coordinator, which Kentucky's put up some good numbers. He also worked in I do believe, the Rams organization as well. And then we have Thomas Brown, the Panthers offensive coordinator, and we all know what that is. That is the Rooney Rule. Because there's no shot that anybody's hired anybody off that Carolina Panthers offense of what we saw this year. That's the Rooney Rule right there. What do you have a confused look on your face? I read your lips, and you said I'm not. You had a confused look.
I'm just joking. No. I don't know. I don't know who a lot of these guys are. They sound interesting. But
well, I think you're going to know this guy that's coming up.
The OC of Bryce Young. I don't know. Just
Cliff Kingsbury is now on the list.
Yeah.
Which now this is a very, very, very interesting choice here because obviously he has ties to USC and has worked directly with Caleb Williams. Now, we've said this numerous times, or at least I have, as much as I've questioned Ryan Poles, it appears that he's playing chess while others are playing checkers. He got the GM from the Panthers fired with the last trade. He's made some great moves. He had one questionable with Chase Claypool. We all know that. But the picks that he's had, Tyrus Stevenson, Dexter Jr., and I can't remember the other guy. God damn it, the offensive. But he's had all the picks that he made from that Carolina trade have been home runs. Every single one of them. I think that this is just smoke and mirrors. We had Jerod Mayo come out from the Patriots that basically said, in this draft, we are going to go after the most important position available, the best person available, and we are going to secure it. You can read that however you want, and yes, that's what I mean. And it was funny because on the article, it's like, usually you don't say that publicly, otherwise you'll get fleeced. However, he said it. I think this Cliff Kingsbury thing is smoke and mirrors. I think it is smoke and mirrors to make people think the Bears are actually seriously thinking about Caleb Williams, which they should. They should. I don't care if you think Justin Fields should be back or not. They should be doing their due diligence on Caleb Williams just the same way that Bo and Sonny Weaver Jr. did. You have to do that.
Your favorite movie ever.
Dude, I love that show, bro. Bo Callahan. I think of this as just smoke and mirrors. I'm fine either way. I honestly, I've come to the agreement. I'm fine either way. If Atlanta was to give us number 8 overall for Justin Fields, it's going to be very hard to go against 1, 8, and 9 when you have 1, 8, and 9 on picks. Plus, if you draft him or you don't draft Caleb Williams, you take a haul and take Drake May. I mean,
you're not getting Marvin Harrison Jr. if you trade.
Unless they trade back up, of course.
I just package 8 and 9 for 4.
Yeah,
right? Cardinals.
Yeah, which the Cardinals, God, they got picks for days. But I mean, I think we have like 2 or 3 second rounders this year as well. A lot of good stuff going on. The Bears are still narrowing it down. I think once they make their offensive coordinator hire, I think it's going to kind of tip their hand. I 100% agree with that. If, based on who they talk, you can see what kind of offensive schemes. A lot of the offensive coordinators that they're doing are heavy 3 wide receiver sets, which Luke Getsy was not good at, which also leads to the fact of they plan on adding people. So if you hire an offensive coordinator that really specializes in 3 wide receiver sets, that means that you have DJ Moore on one side. That means you have Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side, and they're staying with Fields, in my opinion. But I think once this offensive coordinator is out, it will tip. Excuse me. But the Cliff Kingsbury thing to me was wild. Wild. Yeah. And honestly, Caleb has been kind of growing on me, right? Right? And then because I've watched a lot more videotape on Justin Fields. And I will say this again, 3 coordinators in 4 years. That's egregious for a rookie quarterback. 2 head coaches. But when I went to Caleb's Twitter account, and he has "I am Superman" as his Twitter headline. I don't know, bro. I don't think you are Superman.
We'll find out.
Will we? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But obviously, it's going to be good. Either way, this is the only way that Bears can stay relevant. So thank you, Ryan Poles, for keeping us relevant when we suck year after year after year. Appreciate that very much. Well, let's get into some divisional matchups here. We got this weekend. We got some really good games. The spreads are a little bit egregious, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens here. Texans Ravens is where we're going to start out. The young rookie C.J. Stroud against the 2-time most likely MVP Lamar Jackson, which to me, that award is, I don't know, man. Because the first half of the season, was anybody talking about Lamar Jackson as MVP? No. So my thing is should be, and I'm not saying he shouldn't get it. I'm just saying it's a culmination of the entire season. And with the defense as good as his, I don't. But anyway, I digress. The spread is 9.5. We're playing in Baltimore, which I know that I said is going to be a factor. Jeffrey says it's not because C.J. Stroud used to play in Ohio in cold weather. Jeff, what do you feel about this game right here?
I think you start your weekend off amazingly when it comes to betting football. You take the Houston Texans plus the points, and you also sprinkle a little bit on the money line at whatever it is, plus 350 now or something like that. To me, Lamar has not been great as a favorite of this much in his entire career. You're talking about what could be a win game, could be 20 degrees with a lot of wind. Now, I will take Justin Tucker there in that moment over Kaimi Fairbairn or whoever it is, but I still think, look, Lamar on 12 days rest is 1-6 against the spread. Past 3 seasons at -3.5 or higher, he's 6-16. Above 7.5, he's 1-8 against the spread. And his only one win was week 1 of this year. Do you know who they played? A rookie head coach in the Houston Texans. And so yeah, I think that this is a completely different ball club. I think the numbers tell you what to do. I think your heart tells you what to do. Take the Texans here and forget about it.
Buff with a hot take, Texans by 7. Woo, that is a hot take.
I don't mind it. Listen, I obviously it'll be I think this spread is way too high. I don't see this playing out like that.
I don't know. I don't know. I could see this being a game where Baltimore gets up big early, and then
you still have this. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then Houston comes back and backdoors it through prevent defense here. I do think 9.5 is a lot. However, I don't know. It just I've seen this Baltimore team be able to just wax anybody, and I've seen them, but I don't know. But I've seen Houston play really bad. I mean, you got to remember this is also a team that lost to Carolina. If we're going to talk about week 1 type stuff and throughout the season, they've had some really bad performances. But I do believe this team is humming. I think the over at 43.5. I have to wait and see what a little bit of weather is, but I could definitely see this being a 23-21, 28-21 game, 100%. But I would like to look at the weather there a little bit. I think it's going to be a great game, regardless of the spread at 9.5. I think even if Baltimore covers this game at 10, I think it's still going to be an entertaining game, and that's all you can hope for in the playoffs, in my opinion. Green Bay headed to San Francisco, 9.5. Jeff, is there any way your Packers can upset the 49ers?
No.
I disagree. I disagree a little bit.
Francisco wins really, really big here. I think they're healthy. They're rested. They're the better team. They're the better coach. They have the better quarterback in Brock Purdy. They have better weapons on the outside.
Woo! Hot take there. Brock Purdy over Jordan Love.
Why is that a hot take? Brock
Because
Purdy should be.
you've been
in more
so
consideration
high.
for MVP.
Well, you've been so high on Jordan Love this year. That's where that's coming from.
Yeah, but you're talking about top 5 and top 10. Like, Love projection at 28, I disagreed with.
Yeah, I don't know.
If I think Brock Purdy is top 5, he's obviously a better quarterback than Jordan Love, especially in that system. Better running back, better lines on both
Well,
sides.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the people that are around him. We all know the San Francisco 49ers are absolutely loaded. Would Justin Fields make the San Francisco 49ers better than Brock Purdy?
No.
Would Jordan Love on the San Francisco 49ers make the 49ers better?
No.
Very interesting hot take there. Very interesting hot take.
I just think Brock Purdy is perfect for that system. And, Joe Montana wasn't, athletically crazy. But in the system that they ran and for his skill set, he was perfect in San Francisco.
Well, to your point with that said right there, we all know Tom Brady couldn't run 5 yards, right? But yet the system that was put around him, and I think that right there, now that you say that, I think that encapsulates everything of what I'm talking about as far as Justin Fields. The system that's around him has to be tailored to the quarterback. And I think that's such a huge part of it.
Well, we talk about it all the time, and very rarely in life, right, as a coach, you're usually going to have to adapt your system to the talent that you have on your team, right, and to maximize that value. Very few times in life will the talent be able to step right in and run your system perfectly. We see, like Miami, with Tua and with Mike McDaniel, and we see that happen in San Francisco with Brock Purdy as well too.
Absolutely. Well, I think that I think the Green Bay has a punter's chance, and I'll tell you why. I like Houston, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay, all because, as many other people, they're all playing with house money. They're not supposed to be there. They're all almost touchdown or 10-point dogs. They're not supposed to win. It's David versus Goliath, and I think that when you get to that point, people play a little bit more freely, and they take the shots that they normally wouldn't take. They play a little bit more loosely. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, if Green Bay wins and Tampa Bay wins, guess what?
Yeah, back here in Tampa. I will say this: I will be happy. Obviously, I'll take the 9.5. But there's also some alternate plays that I'll have in there as well too. If you're going to give me a minus 13.5, maybe even a minus 16.5 on some alternate lines where I can get some plus money value there, I'm definitely going to take.
Well, I'm thinking the little teaser here: Houston 9.5, Green Bay 9.5, Tampa Bay 6.5, and Kansas City 12.5. Little 4-team monster, adding 13.5 to all of those. I think that's free money at this point. Well, we're not.
Green Bay, I would tease it the other way.
Oh, okay.
So I would just in the Green Bay game, at least for me, I would take
the Niners plus a half.
Well, you said 13-point monster teaser, so you'd end up getting it at the 3, right? You'd have 3 or 4.
I don't know if it's 10 or 13. I probably should know that, right? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. But if it was 13, I would definitely go the other way. I wouldn't, because I don't think they're going to get blown out.
Well, before we get into our hometown team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's talk a little Kansas City Buffalo. I did see reports again that they are shoveling out Buffalo right now. I know that the Blackhawks Sabres game was postponed last night due to the weather, so there's more weather coming in. I said this for these stadiums, right, that they don't want to build domes in. Why do they? I mean, you go through this. Now, granted, it's probably only a couple games a year, so the cost structure isn't applicable. But why don't you just put the heated water going through there, like a heated driveway? Obviously, you're not going to have them on the actual steps, but on the concrete, everything would just melt right off. You have the drainage system; it'd be good to go. I mean, if you're not going to build a dome, I mean, what is that? An extra $500,000 in a $1 billion stadium? Is that going to break the bank to put in a heated system on these types of? I mean, you got a heated system under the field. Why do you not?
How that works, but
Yeah, it's just like a heated driveway. So basically, what it is there's pipes underneath there, and when you turn it on, the water circulates. You heat the water, it heats the concrete. So then when snow hits it, everything melts instantly. So there you go. But again, if they don't make the playoffs, then you're probably not worried about it, right? So it might be a waste of money. I don't know. I think that I'm moving towards the dome scenario. But yes, it is going to be a little bit nasty weather. I do believe this line has moved to Buffalo by 3. I think Buffalo is the hotter team right now, but I don't count the Kansas City Chiefs out by any means. I think this is going to be a great game. Rightfully so. It is the primetime game. However, it is 6:30. That is a little weird. Why? I don't know why it's at 6:30. Never really had that as far as
we play at 3.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. And I know I love listening to Mad Dog, dude. I don't know if you ever listened to Mad Dog, but he was on First Take yesterday, and he's like, with that weather coming in and everything, he goes, "You got Tampa Bay and Detroit playing in a dome at 3 o'clock." It gets dark at 6 o'clock. It's freezing your nutsack off there. None of your fans want to go to that game because of the way that the weather is. Why are you not playing? He goes, I understand TV ratings, but whatever. But you have to at some point think of your fan base, think of the players. We're talking about player safety. The field's going to be hard. You saw Patrick Mahomes' helmet break. Why is that game not the 3 o'clock game? Move the dome game to the 6:30 game to where everybody's inside at night. But, I don't know. I think there's a couple reporters out there that don't think that Tampa Bay can handle the coldness up there in Detroit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. To go to the I know we're kind of opposite here, and a lot of sharps that I've listened to this week absolutely love the Bills in this spot. They are the hotter team. Obviously, there's a few injuries.
A lot of injuries on their defensive side.
That's one thing that kind of makes me hesitate is, and I know the narrative, listen, Mahomes has never played an away playoff game in his career. This is the first one he'll ever. When we get back to the Super Bowl, he's probably going to have to step into 2. So this will be very interesting. I don't care. You give me Andy Reid, who I think is a much better coach than McDermott. You give me a better quarterback in Mahomes, who I think is better than Josh Allen. Now, Allen has better weapons for sure, but we saw stronger. Kelsey can still make plays. The key to this game is going to be Isaiah Pacheco, in my opinion. I just think the way that Pacheco runs, as hard as he runs, as well as he runs, I think they can they can do some things with that ground game and be able to control the clock. Allen and Diggs on the sideline and cold. And if you're going to tell me it's going to be 20 miles an hour and windy, I'll take Harrison Butker all day over the other kid. The punter is still questionable as well too with the hamstring, even though it was the other leg that he ended up injuring. Just there's a lot of factors that are going to this. And for me, 3 points in Patty Mahomes, I'm going to take that all day, every day. I will probably not play the money line here. It's going to be so short. I'm just going to take the 3 and call it a day and hope to get a hit on that.
I'll tell you, after you said that, I believe on Wednesday about the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they called a dude off the couch last week and is going to probably be their starting calling linebacker this week.
AJ Klein?
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about the story. He's like, the dude was packing up his car. They were heading to Key West for vacation and gets called, hey, we need you to come back here. Can you play? Now is he going to play? He's going to start, and he's probably going to be the signal caller for the defense. I mean,
against Patrick Mahomes, you're going to have to be making checks against Kermit the Frog calling plays out there.
Bro, I saw a video of him when he's walking in with his headphones, Patrick, and it's that Kermit song playing. It's like, we finally realized what's playing. I was dying laughing. Oh my God. When you hear Kermit talk and you can't unsee it anymore. It's like baby arms Kyler Murray. Once you see the baby bottles running, you cannot unsee it. So now every time I see him, I'm like, obviously, that's not a very good Kirby. But let's talk about some little Tampa Bay Buccaneers here before we close out this show.
Before we get out of here.
Because I do have a memorabilia show that we got to get to, which we'll close out with that. Tampa Bay headed to Detroit, 3 o'clock. Detroit, 6.5. Way too many points. Baker and this team is absolutely rolling. Now, we look at this and we looked at this team rolling. Mike Evans still hasn't performed at Mike Evans' level. No. Chris Godwin was relatively missing. Even during the Eagles game, but they didn't need him. Trey Palmer stepped up good, and I can't remember who the other kid is. Who was it?
Brian Moore. I don't know.
Moore. I think it was Moore. Yeah, and Cade Otton. Cade Otton has stepped up and it's become one of the favorite targets of Baker Mayfield. I think that you're going to see a lot of that. I think the Detroit Lions are going to try to pressure him. I think Todd Bowles bringing up his defense. Obviously, it's all or nothing. He's going to blitz all of the time. You better hope you get home to Jared Goff if you're going to do that. I think the X factor here that some people are talking about, but I don't think they're talking about as much as it's going to affect them, is the crowd in Detroit. You guys have to understand right now, that crowd is going to be insane. Baker Mayfield and that Tampa Bay offensive line, the receivers better have their silent counts down because they are not going to be able to hear shit. You better hope you get up quick and get up fast and get up a lot of points to kind of quiet that crowd down a little bit and don't let them back in it. I think the biggest X factor to me is, can Baker Mayfield head into that dome for a divisional matchup and execute still at the level he is executing at? Can Mike Evans had a great year again. He's over 1,000, but I would say arguably this has been Mike Evans one of his most questionable years as far as drops. It could have been a lot more. He could have had a lot more stats.
I think it's a lot worse drops from Mike Evans earlier in his career.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
Yeah. But we haven't seen that in a few years, dude. I like the Bucs. I like the Bucs to win this game. If they have their silent counts and they can communicate without using their voices in that dome.
I love the Bucs. I think this is a classic situation of a team that came off of a high last week. And winning your first playoff game in 30 years or whatever it was, and people crying in the stands, and just the emotional output that was exerted going through that game. All the celebrities that were there, even the players. There's a certain amount of relief as well as I don't want to say letdown, because I don't know if they'll let down, but I just think that this Bucs team is so much more seasoned. If you look at the amount of playoff games that this team has gone through in the past 3 or 4 years, we're only beat by one team, and that's Kansas City Chiefs, right? And so I think experience is going to take them there. I think the fact that they know that this might be the last ride, that as we know this core with these guys who won a Super Bowl, because this is the exact same team that won a Super Bowl together. For the most part, these guys are exactly the same. Nothing has changed. We continue to run it back. And I think we will see changes next year. And I think they know that this is their kind of last hoorah, and they're just playing so well together and for each other right now.
Can Ryan Jensen play at all this year?
No, we got I think we got a medical exam. Amazing at center. Our line has been really good. We'll have Tristan Wirfs, playing this game. I don't think he played last game that we played the Lions. So we're finally going to be fully healthy. We have pretty much nobody on the injury report. Baker's even feeling a lot. To me, and the strengths of the Lions and what they do is they stop the run, right? They're not good against the outside. They're good up the middle. Branch, who's going to be all over Trey Palmer, is going to dominate him. I don't expect Trey Palmer to catch a pass this game. Expect Chris Godwin and Mike Evans to have very good games along with Baker Mayfield.
It is time to show up for those two.
Yeah, and listen, here's the other thing too, is that if you're going to give me 6.5 points, and we don't know if we're going to get bad quarterback on one side or bad quarterback on the other, like, I'll take the more than a coin flip, right? If this game's 2.5 or 3, I might think twice about it. But the fact that we could literally just have bad Goff come out and play, and this game's over, it's not going to matter. Tampa Bay's really good against the run. Montgomery and Jameer get do anything as well. It looks like there's, Sam Laporta's probably going to play. Raymond looks like he for the Lions as well. I just love the Bucs here, man. I think it's a weird.
You're dropping out. There, I got the custard's final stand there, but there looked like there's some juicy materials in there based on your face, and I can kind of put two and two together what you were saying there as far as, this is their last ride. They're all playing for each other here and looking right out. But to your point, I'm looking for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to step up 100%. Godwin caught the one off the back foot when it didn't really matter at that point. The game was kind of already over at that point. Mike Evans still had the big drop. You got to get numbers, man. We're playing for contract incentives here. We got to get these numbers up. I think you're absolutely right. It seems to me like a team that knows it's getting blown up at the end of the year, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Bucs moving forward. Obviously, I would love to see my boy take over. I don't know if that's going to happen. I do love the energy that he continues to portray on the sidelines as far as rooting everybody on. When I see him run up and down, jumping up and down, like that's somebody that's involved now. And that's all that anybody wants. That team just looks like we talked about weeks ago about how maybe Todd Bowles had lost the locker room. We looked at the dejection on Mike Evans' face when something didn't go right. We're not really seeing that anymore. We're seeing a team that looks like they've come together behind the scenes, whether that's Bakerfield taking them out to the strip clubs or doing whatever it is for a little shoe show and a steak. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's working. I'm looking forward to them coming up. I agree with you. 6.5 is too much. If it is, I think if Tampa Bay doesn't win, I think it's 3 points, Detroit. So I think 6.5 is kind of print money. But as you said, love the little sprinkle here on the money line. And what a matchup that would be, either Tampa Bay or San Francisco or Green Bay the next week after that. I mean, that would be pretty good there.
We would get to go play San Francisco where we already played too. So that's another thing that's going into this. I will say this: Kyle Trask is one play away from coming in and being a hero.
He could take. He can still take.
Away.
I will say this though: the Tampa Bay offensive line has been really good lately. Baker has not been touched outside of getting that one shot, and even then, that was one shot. But he took one shot. But I will say this as well, just like you're saying, Baker is fragile right now. We thought that the Philadelphia Eagles would have a bounty on his head, right? They didn't touch him.
They didn't touch him.
The Detroit Lions, I think they got a little bit better front line right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're going to bring a lot of pressure. Stay ready, my boy. It could be your time to ride off into the sunset and take the Bucs all the way. Woo! What a storyline that would be for me. Tingling in my nutsack already. That's gonna do it for us today on the Uninformed Fan. I appreciate everybody coming in. Big shout out to Marcus Buffington for coming on and giving his take on the Dallas Cowboys. Whether we agree with him or not, that is the pulse of a Cowboys fan, and one that's been a diehard for many. He's not a Yankee fan either, though, right? Is he a Yankee fan too?
A Braves fan.
Okay, good. Yeah. I just love the. If you're in the Orlando area, come check us out at the Orlando Sports Card Show. It's in Apopka. If you check out the Thomas Memorabilia page, you'll see us over there. We'll be out there selling trinkets, including a Mike Evans autographed rookie card, PSA 10. That will be there as well as a Paolo Banchero rookie money shimmer, 5 out of 5. Only 5 of them out there. We're going to bring those as well. So hope to see you out there. Everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy the last few weeks of football. It is great. And please, stay out of the left-hand lane.